Well, it's actually happened, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually happened. Now y'all know I don't do YouTube videos like that these days anymore. So usually if when I'm doing a video like there's something happening, that's to be like a special event. Of course, if there's like a direct E3 whatever. But there's no event going on. Or I guess you could call it an event because the review embargoes for Death Stranding has lifted. And while I am pleasantly surprised that the average isn't what I honestly expected it to be. I thought that was going to have a 90 plus just because of the current state of gaming and how easily gamers and critics are liked, or just like fucking bamboozled and just oohed and awed by, sparkly things, in these video games, like dangling a fucking colorful toy, plastic toy in front of a baby, right? That's how gamers are these days. So despite the fact that it doesn't quite have a 90 or above, it's not quite as overrated as I thought it would be. That's not saying much considering I thought this would be the most overrated thing of all time. And I'm still annoyed because some of the websites that did give it a 90 plus have literally said the game is boring. They have said the game is boring and still gave it a 95, a 92, a 10. We finally reached the apex. This is it. And this is the shit I was warning you guys about, but y'all didn't want to listen to me. Anyone who is a longtime viewer of me can tell y'all. Back in the day, I always said, guys, I don't like where the industry is going. Remember that video where I was talking about how this gen would be the worst, so on and so forth? I don't care if you disagree with that or whatever, but I'm referencing that video because whether or not you agree with that statement, everything I said would happen in that video came true. And one of the things I mentioned in that video, as well as others, is I hate focus. This whole just fucking cinematic focus we are getting in our video games these days. Now, don't get me wrong. I can appreciate Kojima trying something new. I can appreciate developers trying unique experiences. I don't mind the existence of things like Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, Until Dawn. I don't mind the existence of those games. There's a market for those. I understand people like those types of games. They're really great for casual players, especially. My problem comes in, I start having a problem with these games when they're so fucking celebrated despite being boring, despite having some of them not even having gameplay like that. You know what I mean? I do not like that. That does not sit well with me. It just doesn't. I will never ever agree that, like, let's say for instance, like a game like Until Dawn, not that it did, but I would never agree with a game like Until Dawn winning Game of the Year over something like God of War, right? Because one developer took the time to create combat, do all these crazy animations, crazy cool unique monster and enemy designs, full-fledged levels, actually making levels and maps and all this stuff, right? Rather than just making dialogue options with QTEs and corridors. I don't think that deserves to be Game of the Year or even get more fucking praise than something that was an actual fucking video game. You see what I mean? And that kind of boils down to, Death Stranding as well. And yes, Death Stranding has, more gameplay than the likes of Beyond Two Souls and all those types of fucking games and whatnot. But one of the things I've always said, and people who agree with me that Death Stranding is shit, this is probably where I lose them because they'll probably disagree with me on this as well. But this is my opinion, but I'm very adamant about it. I believe in it 100%. Fuck it, it's not my opinion. Fuck you, this is a fact. Stories should not be able to carry a game. They shouldn't. They should not. Stories should not be weighed so heavily. We're talking about weight here, percentage. Story matters. Stories are a part of video games. I acknowledge that. I realize that. I love RPGs. So naturally, I enjoy stories in my games. I don't need them, but if they're there, cool. And if they're good, awesome. It made the game better. Having great visuals, great characters, great gameplay, great controls. You guys heard what I said? Controls, gameplay, great soundtrack, audio design. These are things in games that actually really fucking matter. Right? And then if you have a good story on top of that, it's like, okay, so now it was a 9 out of 10 based off of everything it had, but it also had a great story. So now I could bump the score up a bit. But to actually have mediocre, or not even mediocre, but to actually have boring gameplay. Admittedly boring. Sure, you haven't played the game, it's not out yet. The reviewers who have played the game have said it's boring. Some of these... Look at this shit. Death Stranding is a new masterpiece from Hideo Kojima. You need to accept its slow and repetitive gameplay to accept the plot and marvelous setting. What the fuck does a game with slow and repetitive gameplay, what the fuck is that doing having a 92? You see what I mean? PlayStation Life. Death Stranding is not a fun game. But it's an important and meaningful experience. That's not like the full excerpt, of course, but that's all you need to fucking see. You get the point. We have reviewers literally saying it's mundane, literally saying it's boring, literally saying nothing happens in this game. Literally saying that. I'm not saying that. The people who are giving it good scores are saying that, and they're still giving it AAA scores. This is what I was trying to warn you motherfuckers about last generation, because I saw where gaming was going. And I'm sorry this might sound fucked up to say, but I pray and hope that Death Stranding is not a success, because I don't want more games like this, because it's not a game, it's a fucking UPS simulator. Look! This is what you're doing. This is what people are doing in a video game, and they're accepting it, and they're okay with it because to story. And I called this shit on Twitter. I had made a tweet a few days ago. Death Stranding reviews prediction. The story was incredible. 10 out of 10 is what I said. Let me get that goddamn tweet. Let me get this goddamn tweet. Here it is. Let me pull this shit up. Just to show y'all I'm not fucking lying. The narrative was thought-provoking. 10 out of 10. Now, like I said, the game isn't quite as overrated as I thought it'd be, because I was sure it was going to have a 90 plus. But there are still a grip in a good number of reviews that did give it a 90 plus, who say exactly what I say in the fucking tweet. Oh, what the fuck? Cordlet. I ain't got time for ads. Like, there are so many good reviews here where they literally say my tweet. They literally say my tweet. So, some of these 100s, you guys can go look at them. Some of these 90s, some of these high 80s. They literally say, oh my God, yo, oh, what a story. Amazing game. Like, I'm sorry. Stories help video games, but my point, and I have to repeat this. I have to repeat myself a lot because people misconstrue, people don't understand, they don't fucking listen. I'm not saying I don't care about stories. I'm not saying stories don't matter. What I am saying is that stories should not be able to fucking solo carry a fucking game. Even stories with visuals should not be able to carry a fucking game. Guys, what do we play? What do we play? What's the medium that we indulge in? What was it called? It's called video games, right? Wait a minute. Games. A game is something, let me think. A game is something you fucking play. Why do we play? As kids, why did we play? Why did we go, oh! That's what I remembered! It's to have fucking fun! It's a video game, which is something you play. You play to have fun. So therefore, you play video games to have fun. So why, not that one, why does this exist? Why does this comment with this score exist? If the whole point of a video game is to have fun. Now, it's not even that, I have to say this because I don't want you guys to misconstrue. I'm not mad it's getting good reviews because like I said, it's getting worse reviews than I expected. So that's a W for me. My problem is the absolute praising and just, just kind of just turning a blind eye to what is actually a mediocre game just because of narrative and visuals. And like I said, I talked about this shit last generation. People just call me, oh, you're just saying that because you're a Nintendo fanboy, yada, yada. Nintendo's not about the cinematics and the high-end graphics, all, yada, yada. Which is funny because I've always said I would actually like Nintendo to be a little bit more cinematic for some of their franchises that would fit that, such as Star Fox and, whatnot and stuff like that. But I appreciate cinematics. I appreciate a good story. Some of my favorite games of all time are very cinematic and story-oriented, like Mass Effect 2. That's one of my favorite fucking games, for instance, right? My problem specifically is when just the movie elements of a game completely carries it like so. And there's so many other examples. I could grab so more from reviews that I've seen. That's not cherry picking, nitpicking shit. There's so many others that say the exact same thing. But these reviewers that are giving it a great score admit themselves, they say themselves, the people giving it a good score, I have to repeat that because you guys are fucking slow, are saying it's boring. I'm not saying it's boring. They're saying it's boring. And they played it and they gave it a good score. So they're not haters. This needs to stop. And Shok, okay, what's the problem? What's the overlying problem, Shok? What's the point? The point is, I don't want this type of shit to get enabled. I don't want developers feeling more emboldened than they already are. Like, oh shit, you see that one game? That one game where they didn't make any levels, no gameplay, nothing like that. Just, right? Like, they made billions off that shit. Like, why the fuck are we sitting here making this massive, expansive world with all these nooks and crannies, and we're doing like all this intricate gameplay system and these controls? Why are we doing all this? If we just make a shiny looking game with a good story, supposedly good story, or whatever, right? Just narrative, good visuals, and people will just eat that shit up. No one fucking cares about gameplay, dude. Like what happened? What happened? How have we gotten to the point where we are admitting that a game is boring and still calling it good anyways? That's fucking insane. And this one motherfucker on Twitter, where's that comment at? This one motherfucker on Twitter said, what do you expect this game to get praised for? Games are diverse. It's not just about gameplay anymore. Okay, now, first off, in a sense, he's correct. Games are not just about gameplay, but that comment also implies that they were always just about gameplay, which isn't true, because really, since the dawn of time, if you think about it, stories have been tied, with video games, the NES games and, RPGs, stuff like that, right? We've always had stories in video games. Of course, the very first ones, Pong and shit, didn't really, but since gaming started, it's always had a story. But the reason why that's such a dumb-ass fucking statement is because, again, it's video games. Gameplay is not 100% of a game, of course. Like I said, you have things like controls, which affect the gameplay. You have performance. Of course, you have, like I said, audio design. You got the soundtrack. There's lots of different elements that go into a game, but the gameplay makes up the majority of the game. The gameplay is the fucking game. The gameplay is why you buy the fucking game. So if the gameplay is admittedly by the people who have played it, if the gameplay is mediocre, why is the game being celebrated? So, if I was a developer right now and I'm studying to be a developer right now, by the way. Let's say I already finished school and I got my degree, I'm making a game. If I gave no fucks and I just wanted a quick buck, I wouldn't even make a game where there's like traditional standard, gameplay or whatever. All I would do is do like a fucking Telltales type bullshit or something, or I'll try to get like a mocap studio, do gorgeous mocap animation with amazing graphics, throw in little QTEs here and there, and people will eat my shit up. They will eat it up. Now, I need to wrap this up because this is a 15-minute rant and it didn't need to be this long. You can buy these experiences. That's fine. I'm not even going to call them fucking games. You can buy these experiences, these graphic novels, these interactive forms of media that just so happen to be played on your video game machine. You can buy them. That's fine. I'm not trying to guilt you guys for liking these things, playing them, watching them, or anything like that, or enjoying them. That's not the point. My point is, let's be careful in how we handle them. Because we don't want devs thinking they can just do shit like this. And they can get praise for game of the generation. Like I'm seeing some reviewers call this game of the generation. They literally call it boring. And then they say this just might be the game of the generation. Hello? How is that possible? You call it boring, and then you say this might be my best game of the gen. You call it boring, and then you say it might be one of the best games of all time. And then they mention, the boringness is intentional, so it's all good, right? That doesn't make it okay. That's just lazy game design. That's just lazy. And I've read multiple reviews, and I watched so many review videos, and a lot of the reviewers say, like, for the majority of this game, you do nothing but walk. But then something happens, and it feels really great because you were really bored before. Y'all really let Kojima pull that on y'all. Y'all really fell for that shit. Y'all really fell for that shit. He gave y'all empty, boring, monotonous padding, because that's what the core of the game is. It's just padding. He gave y'all padding, and because he makes it intentional. And he'll throw something semi-exciting at you once every hour. You guys, oh my god, this game is fucking great. So basically, what these reviewers are saying is that the game is so bad that when something good happens, you really appreciate the good. So this game is genius. Do you hear what you're saying? Hello? Like sometimes I really wonder if I'm in the Matrix, if I live in an alternate dimension, an alternate universe or something. I never thought I did because I called that this shit would happen, but I'm still going to say, I just never thought we'd see a day and age where we're calling a boring game great. Like unironically, right? We're calling a boring game great. We're excited to play a boring game. And we're calling making the game boring and then throwing in something exciting so you really appreciate the exciting thing. We're calling that genius game design. Like really? Really? Wow, that's where we are? And I like Kojima. Kojima has made one of my favorite games, one of my favorite franchises of all time, being Zone of the Enders. I fucking love me some Zone of the Enders. I loved MGS1. I loved MGS4. Never got around to playing 2 or 3. Yeah, I skipped 1 to 4. Really weird, right? MGS4 is one of my favorite games of last gen. I didn't really pay attention to the story. I skipped most of it because I didn't know what was going on anyways, because like I said, I didn't play 2 or 3. But I thought the gameplay was fantastic and everything, right? It's one of my favorite games of that last generation. I just thought the game was exciting and really cool to play. So no bias against Kojima or anything, but like goddamn, y'all really let Kojima create a movie in a game skin and get away with it. Y'all really calling this man a fucking genius? And I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, he said himself that he doesn't understand his fucking story. Let's be honest. Metal Gear's story is fucking fuck shit, right? Like, Like, he's not this a genius story crafter. You could say he's a genius when it comes to maybe making a game, at least prior to Death Stranding, sure. But as far as like story, no, he's not a fucking genius. He's a fucking weirdo. And it doesn't make sense. Nanomachines, Foxstein, nanomachine, liquid, like that's Metal Gear, right? There's nothing genius about that. Explaining every bullshit random idea away with, oh, nanomachines. Oh, of course, okay, nanomachines, okay. Like, no. He is not a genius for this. This game is dumb. Excuse me. This interactive experience called Death Stranding is dumb. It's a UPS simulator. It's a FedEx fucking ground priority shipping simulator. And people are eating this shit up. You can like it. That's fine. You can like it. Again, to reiterate, my only problem is the over celebration of it. It's the patting on the back for doing fucking nothing. For doing fuck all. You have an empty ass open world. The majority of the game, you're just walking forward. Every now and then you have some enemies thrown at you, but based off the reviews I've watched and listened to, they're not even a challenge. The BTs aren't even a challenge. I've watched multiple reviews. This one reviewer said you could beat all the enemies by tying them up with that janky tie-up animation. You could beat all of them with a fucking wire, with a rope, or whatever it is. So apparently, the little potential excitement the game could have had, it's passed up quickly. And they said once you figure out how to get past the BTs, it works for the rest of the fucking game. So any of the other little could have been interesting elements that could have saved this game from being just this mundane, monotonous chore ends up being nothing. Ends up being just as boring as the walking. And it pains me to know this is going to be up for Game of the Year nomination. It pains me. It's a game where you're walking the whole entire fucking time and it's going to be up for Game of the Year. And people are actually going to think it deserves Game of the Year. Over shit like the Resident Evil 2 remake. And Sekiro. What else has came out this year? The Borderlands 3 just came out. And, like Astral Chain, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Like actual fucking video games that are fun. It's crazy to me how some people are going to want Death Stranding to win over those actual fucking video games. Unbelievable. But this video is long enough. Unfucking believable. Games aren't just about gameplay anymore. Gameplay? Gameplay? How does the game play? Like, how the fuck is that not the most important I gotta get out of here. Deuces, y'all. I'm out.